Hello and good evening. Hello and welcome to tonight's stream. I hope you're all doing well, and there are some people out there. Maybe you can let me know in the chat if everything is working smoothly, if you can see me, if you can hear me. That would be very nice to know, and if there's actually anyone out there. Yeah, welcome to my last stream for 2023. I will at this stream, I did a vote actually before starting this stream, and I asked the people, I asked you guys what you would want to see in this stream. So yeah, the vote was actually a breakdown of my song Fragile, which was the one I was just playing for you. Actually, there was kind of like a split. Some people voted more for sound design on the Ableton Push 3, which I, by the way, also have here. yeah, for the rest, it was more kind of like the breakdown of the song, and it was quite even, the votes. So I decided to do now the breakdown of the song, because I find it always kind of nice to take you with me, do some explanation, and then just see in the chat if there are some questions, because I'm very, very happy to answer them. So if you have any questions, feel free to just drop your questions. And yeah, the sound design on the Push 3, I thought that would be a nice standalone YouTube video. So this is something coming up next on the channel, which I'm very much looking forward to now. Maybe before we start, just some quick words. Actually, yeah, I said this is my last live stream for this year. And I also, before we dive into the project, wanted to take a step back and thank all of you guys for your lovely support throughout the year. It has been a wild year for me. I've done lots of different things, played a lot of live music on the internet, and also to real people. I did a lot of exploration with new machines, did a lot of tweaks to find my sound. I actually changed my whole setup, switching from a DAWless to a hybrid setup. So yeah, there was a lot of change in this year for me. So next year, this is already something I have planned for the new year, some more focus and consistency. So this is something I really want to do in the next year. And but yeah, for now, I really want to thank you all for supporting me, for being there, and for just hanging out. I really, really appreciate that, and appreciate all of you for being there and being so supportive. Now, let's see who actually is here in the stream. I can already see a couple of people. Peritos writing all good. Kamit writing cool, I caught a live stream. Yeah, great that you're here. Sound and looks good. Perfect. That's great to hear. And yeah, so I would say let's jump right in. Just quick housekeeping. I have basically 3 screens. This is the kind of like top-down view from a camera being here, kind of like pointing down at my desk. You can see the Push 3, but also the ELEKTRON Digitone, and here on the left, the MOOG Sub 25. And I will also go over to Ableton, which you can see, or should see right now. There's a lot of stuff happening, mostly in Ableton, so we will be looking at that. For now, I want to go through the different groups at first of Fragile, and then talk a little bit about the arrangement and the structure. But let's maybe, to start with, have a first look at the structure. And like I said, also for all the people joining new, if you have in the process any questions, unfortunately in this view I cannot see the chat, but I will stop from time to time, go back to the chat and catch up with all of your questions. So if there are any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat, and yeah, then I'm very happy to answer them. Fragile. Fragile basically is a song that consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scenes. So this whole screen here that you can actually see here right now is the whole song. Like always, I have splitted it up into different groups. So basically you have here my kick and bass group, my snare group, my hi-hats, then there's percussion, which forms basically, these form my percussive sounds, and then these are all the melodic sounds, starting with my MOOGs. Then I have the Digitone, some software synthesizers that I like to use, and then the melodic samples. For this song, there are some things different than I did in other songs, but I'll explain as we move along why that is. I always keep that structure because I want my songs to be always in the same structure so that I can move them around easily. And the big advantage is when I have a live set, I know that all my songs follow this structure. So I know for my live set, I can create 8 groups that I control, and in these groups, all the different stems from the different songs live. But I know all of my songs are structured like that, which makes the workflow when you create a live set or transform your song to a live set very easily. All right, let's start maybe with the kick, as long as there are no questions. Let me quickly see. Doesn't seem like it. So, all right, let's go into the kicks. I'll just play you the main setup, and just for this moment mute the rest of the song so we can just take a look at the kick drum. Actually, for Fragile, there are two kick drums that I like to use. The first one actually is this one here. This is the main kick drum. It's actually a sampled kick from the Production Music Live Deep pack. It's called Deep 018, and yeah, basically sounds like this. I did a little bit of processing to it, so you can see here there's an EQ8 on it, which just brings up the heights a little bit, and then you have a low cut here because maybe we can just play it. So without the EQ8, you can see here all the low end content, and this is basically what I wanted to shave off a little bit for this kick drum. And then drum bass. Actually, I like to use drum bass a lot on my percussive sounds, not only kicks, but also everything else. We're pretty sure we'll see it as we move on again. This is just a slight use of it. You can see here 10% of drive. It's the soft distortion type, so not that much. And I dampened the kick a little bit, which you can see here. So if we open it up, you can see actually big difference. And this here, basically just makes the sound a little bit more, just a little bit more, not boomy, but kind of like doesn't have that much high frequency content. And yeah, dry wet is set to 30%. The gain is taken down a little bit. Let's hear it without drum bass. With drum bass. Just a little bit more punch also to the drive here to cut through the mix. And then, maybe you already hear it, we have this little ghost kick here, which comes in from time to time. It's actually the same sample, but I slightly shortened it and also made the attack slower, or as it's called here in Simpler, the fade in. So here it's 6 milliseconds, and here I don't have a fade in at all. And this makes the sound a little bit, more boxy. And also from the settings, I think, pretty much the same as on the other kick. It's just a sample that is a little bit different. All right. And then you can already see here in the kick and drum or group actually, I don't have a bass, because in this song, and this is something that's special about this song, the bass is coming here from the Moog Sub 25 and sounds like this. I'm actually now turning the knob as the sound plays. So maybe let's take a quick look at what's going on here. So actually you can see here what's going on. It's an external instrument, so we have the external instrument device from Ableton. The MIDI is coming or going to channel 6. This is what I set the Sub 25 to. So it's communicating on MIDI channel 6 and receiving notes there from Ableton. You can see here it's actually sequenced here from Ableton. And then the audio is coming from the synthesizer back into the audio interface. The reason why I set it up like this is because on this song I felt that it would be very nice to actually play the song live, and as I play, change the parameters. So I can change the filter, I can change some of the ADSR settings, I can change the oscillator settings. So as we play, you can hear it now. Open, close the filter. It's always nice on a Moog, and then of course, some other stuff as well, like bringing in the different oscillators. Just some nice stuff, and this is why I set it up like that and didn't record the sound beforehand. Then here, this is actually the VST device from Moog, the Sub 25, is a synthesizer that you can connect via USB. So you could connect it with a classic MIDI cable, but I decided to control it via USB, which also gives me now this very nice visual representation. You can see here when I turn the cutoff on the device, which I'm doing right now, the cutoff here in the device is turning as well. And you can see here all the settings basically. It's quite nice because the Moog Sub 25 has presets that I can change. So I have physical buttons here on the device, and you can see as I press them, the sounds are changing. And this is quite nice in a live set, because then depending on which song I'm in, I can change from preset to preset to have the preset match the song that I'm playing, and then yeah, basically have that sound playing that I want to be played. Here on the EQs, this is something that is quite special about this sound, because I'm using this channel here also, you can see it here if I scroll up, also for other sounds, right? So in all my other tracks, I'm using the synthesizer as well, and there I'm using a different sound for it. So I'm not using a bass sound, I'm more using like a plucky ARP sound. And so when I, for example, now would change to this scene here from a different song, you can see that now it changed to this EQ, and this one here is switched off. And this is what I set up here in the MIDI settings, or in the automation. It's actually here. If we go in here and then to the, where is it? Is it here? Oh no, it's in the, here in the song Fragile that we are looking at. So if I now look into this scene, yeah, you can see now here, one of the EQ8s is turned on, and for one of the other EQ8s, the automation is set to turn the device off. Yeah, here it's off. Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. And here it's actually set to on. And the reason why I'm doing this is actually that you can see here I have quite different EQ shapes that I like to use. If I use this sound as an ARP, I cut out all the low end and do a little bit of different processing to it. And if I use it as this longer bass sound, I use this. And if I now trigger this scene again, you can see that it jumps. So basically this automation is saved here in the clip. And when this clip triggers, this EQ goes off and this one here goes on. So that I have basically all the settings here that I like to use. Then we also have a glue compressor. I really like to use the Ableton glue compressor just to glue the sounds a little bit together. And then last but not least, we have this CV shaper, which again, I mentioned it already, my good friend Mr. Ed Rollo, he made this 10 tool packs, and there's some really nice stuff in, like this very simple CV shaper, or it's basically a CV shaper controlling a gain. So basically, yeah, it's like a sidechain, so to say. So you can already hear it. If I bring up the effect even more, you can hear how heavy it affects the sound, but I just want it slightly so that it ducks away a little bit from the kick drum, and both elements then sound like this. And also, as you can hear, I have a slight reverb and a delay on the sound, which basically are my send effects over here. I have a Valhalla vintage verb that I like to use as my reverb, shape the sound here a little bit with an EQ, and then I have an delay, which also then is affected by a very slight reverb, which is then also affected by an equalizer, just to give also the delay sounds a little bit more room. And then it sounds all together like this. Yeah, and that basically is my kick and bass. There's some more stuff going on in the Moog group, but this is when we come to the melodic section. So let's look at that a little bit later. Let's now quickly go back and see if any one of you has any questions so far. There's one in the chat. Hey Miles Kvndra, is that Live 12 beta or 11? This is actually Ableton Live Suite 11. It's yeah, I decided not to use the 12 version yet because I'm always a little bit insecure about betas. Like when there's a beta, yeah, I don't know how stable it would be to use it for live or for playing live, and this is actually a little bit too insecure. So I'm now patiently waiting until Live 12, the full version, is released, and then I'm definitely upgrading because it really has some nice stuff in it. But yeah, as long as that's not the case, I'm staying with Live Suite 11. But actually, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, great question. All right, then I would say let's go back to Ableton and let's look at the second group, because this was actually it for kick and bass, which only contains the kick, as the bass is here. And now let's look at the snares. So for snares, what do we have here? This is how the snare sounds. It's actually a sound that a sample that I created myself. It's a sound from my very old song Lichterfall, which I produced, I think, back in 2019 or something, a long time ago. And yeah, I still very much like this snap here and used it here, but I shortened it. You can see that the start of the sample is a little bit later. If I would do it like this, it's way more present, and I wanted it to be a little more subtle and just use these two audio spikes here, so to say. And now it sounds like this. We are also, you can see it here in the MIDI, we are also using a second snap, which is I think the same sample, but same with the kick with slightly different settings. Yeah, you can see it here again. It's just basically this last snap. So it's kind of like, you could say, a ghost snap. And then for the main snap, we have this one here. It also has some processing on it. You can see again drum bass, which adds a little bit of drive. Again, this one also a compressor. I really like the built-in drum bass compressor. It really brings the sounds forward. Sometimes then you need to gain stage it a little bit, but yeah, it really makes the sounds a little bit more present. For this one, I also use the crunch, which adds a little bit of extra distortion, and also slightly the transient shaper, brought it up to make the transient even more present. Dry wet is set here to 100%. So yeah, let's hear it without it. It's actually quite a big difference. And then we also have a reverb here. Basically a very short reverb, just 590 milliseconds. Dry wet set to 42%. And yeah, I think the rest is probably just standard settings. So yeah, just to give it a little bit of extra room before it actually hits the other reverb, which is this one here. And here you can already see that there's some automation going on. So if we now look here again into the clip, what I really like to do is to automate my my sounds a little bit, so that they are a little bit more moving. And you can actually see here, not for the reverb, but actually for the delay, that basically every fourth snap here, or every third snap per bar, actually has a higher delay amount on it. Yeah, you can hear it. There is the delay. So yeah, basically just to make the sounds a little bit more exciting. And I felt if I would have the delay always on, it would make the sounds a little bit too muddy. And then together with a kick drum, it sounds like this. Not super exciting, but it helps to add to the groove. Let's move on to the hi-hats, and you can already see there is a little bit more going on here. So for the hi-hats, we actually have different groups. Actually, I like to work with 4 different hi-hat groups, basically hi-hats closed looped, hi-hats open, and hi-hats open looped. This one you can ignore for now, it's just something I created as a placeholder. And basically what I like to do is in my preset, if I like to work with hi-hat one-shots, I have it here in hi-hat closed. You can see I'm using an Ableton drum rack that consists, or that has all different hi-hat sounds that I like to use in my music. And hi-hat closed looped is basically just an audio track that has different audio clips in here. Like this one here, for example, you can already see the automation here, which we will check out later. But here you can actually see a hi-hat loop, sorry. And this is just audio, mostly recorded from the DIGITAKT, which I like to use as a looper, and then just record it in here, and then use it as a sample that is playing back. But let's start here and look at this hi-hat first. Maybe we switch to this scene, because here we have most hi-hats actually on. You can also see, like, the more I move on with the song, the more elements are added, and this is how I like to work. Before, in the outro, we really fall off again in terms of energy, because we kind of like building up until we have the full pattern playing, which basically is the drop, and then we have a lot of energy, a lot of elements going on, and then in the outro we are kind of like moving back and being a little bit less energetic again, so to say. All right, in the hi-hat, in this one here, let's see what's going on. You can already see it here. We have 2 hi-hats playing, hi-hat fragile and hi-hat fragile 2. Let's quickly look on how they are built. This is hi-hat fragile 1. Or we can just mute this one here. So yeah, this is the first hi-hat, and you can see it's not a sample, it's actually a drum synth, one of Ableton's built-in drum synths, which is called DSHH. It's actually, I mapped here to instruments. I mapped all of the different, or the drum synths that I really like from Ableton. It's the kick, it's the hi-hat, and it's the clap. These are some synths that I really like to use. Very easy parameters, and you can create some very nice sounds with them. So for this one, actually, we are using quite a high pitch. We're using the white noise. Tone is set all the way to 0. And then you can already see here the decay is slightly moving. And this is due to this delay over here, which is affecting this decay value. And I wanted to give the sound just a little bit of movement, so that it basically over time changes a little bit and is a little bit more interesting. And for that, this is a technique I also like to use on the Digitone and DIGITAKT, and now in Ableton is with LFOs to control the decay of a sound, sometimes with values that have fixed rates, like this one here, but also sometimes with complete free ratios or rates like this, for example, to basically make it even more random. In addition to that, on the sound we have a reverb, which is called Drum Room. It's Ableton's, I think it's an Ableton stock plugin. It sounds really nice on drums, just to give them a little bit of room. Let's hear it without it. Actually very dry, and now with it, yeah, just adds a little bit of sizzle. And then again, we have here the sidechain again, so without it. And with it, grooves way nicer to the kick drum, as you can hear when I bring it in. All right, cool. Then we have a second hi-hat, which is this one here. Let's take a quick look. This is actually a sample and a sample from a sample pack from my label, Pity Victory Collective. This song actually was made based on a sample pack, so there were some sounds from the team crafted, and then everyone was asked to create some, or out of these sounds, this song. And I actually used one of the sounds here as a hi-hat. It's called MC3 Perk Field 9. Sounds in the original. If you can already see there's a lot of processing going on, so maybe we switch off all the processing and then see how the sound was shaped. All right, let's also switch this one off. Okay, cool. Let's make the solo for now. So this is the sound. And you can also hear already here in the MIDI, it's kind of like the velocity is slowly going up. You can see it here. Every 2 bars, the velocity is rising. And this is basically to support the ARP, which we are looking at later here, the MOOG ARP, because it also has this, it's becoming more and more present over 2 bars, and then it drops off again in velocity. All right, let's look at the sounds that I used here. I already said it in my last sound design video, but I really like to use vocoder on hi-hats. It's a super nice sound shaping tool for hi-hats. You can actually hear it here right now. Already makes a huge difference. Completely changes the sound. Then we have a saturator, a bit warmer set, also preset from Ableton, which I like to use to just make sounds, yeah, like it says, a little bit more warmer. Then we are using delay. Yeah, third notes here, and then yeah, dry wet set to 30%. I also like to use the filter just to really affect the higher frequencies. But then in the end, I'm also using another EQ8 to cut out all the unwanted low end to make sure that this high end is really only playing in the high end. And then of course we also have yeah, again, this envelope shaper to give it that pumping sidechain sound. That also really nicely adds to the groove. And this is how both closed hi-hats sound together. All right, then we are actually adding a second closed hi-hat here in this full pattern. So they are all instruments coming together, and I wanted to create a little bit more impact. So I added a second closed hi-hat, which now sounds like this. It's a hi-hat loop. Processing, actually very straightforward, just a drums room on, very low dry wet setting, just 5% to give it a little bit of sizzle. And then, yeah, we have again the sidechain. And then we have closed hi-hats, and these are actually also only playing in this scene, so to say. So really hear now the hi-hats are driving the song a little bit forward and giving it that groove. And for that I really wanted to have a strong open hi-hat, which is sorry, this one here. It's also a sample from a sample pack, Production Music Live. It's from Ben Böhmer sample pack that I really like. It's the hat 006, and I didn't apply actually much to it, just cut out a little bit of the low end. And that's actually it. I didn't even transpose it. It's just like, yeah, cut a little bit of the tail, because the sample was actually a little long. And then, last but not least, we have another hi-hat loop, an open hi-hat loop that I created also here. You can see on the track itself just some very slight processing. Again, the drums room with here a dry wet setting of 10%, and this loop sounds like this. and looks like this. It's actually a sound that I recorded for my song Home and now turned into an open hi-hat loop. And all hi-hats together sound like this. And just as a comparison, this is the hi-hat, for example, in the intro. So yeah, energy is way, way lower compared, of course, to this one here. Yeah, a lot more stuff going on. And together with kick and snare, it sounds like this. You can also hear that the, basically this rising hi-hat that we see here whenever we have this end, there is like more energy coming in because the this hi-hat actually does a little bit more. I'm just checking. Yeah, I thought there's also a exactly. There's also an automation going on, and what you can see here actually is that I bring up the release time of the vocoder, which is here on this hi-hat. And actually, maybe we take a look here as the release time goes up, it really heavily affects the sound because it makes the sound overall longer, and therefore you create this rising effect towards the end of every second bar, which is another kind of like small automation thing, but all these small things in the end really add up to just make your whole songs a little bit more lively and just more interesting to listen to for your listeners. That was a lot of talking. Before we move on, let's actually see if there are any further questions in the chat. Doesn't seem like it. Claudio is there. Hey, good to see you. Great that you're here. And I would say let's move on and go to the next group, which is the percussion group, which sounds like this. There's a lot of tracks in here, and this is because actually in this project I have all the tracks from all of my tracks that I have also moved to Ableton from my DAWless sets to have everything in one place to create live sets out of it. I thought it was a smart practice. However, I'm right now coming to the point where I'm afraid to add more songs to this project because, of course, it keeps growing and growing. And yeah, you can already see it here. The CPU is going a little bit crazy. So actually what I do now is I create a project for all the songs. And when I decide to do a live set, I then bring all the songs that I want to play in this live set together in a new set so that I basically, start from the scratch, because I don't want to go too hard on my CPU. Because, well, you don't want your Ableton Live to crash when you're on the stage. All right, so you can already hear a crash. Actually, there's one group here which is called Perc Sound Effects. It's also a drum rack which has a lot of different sounds in here. It has upsweeps, it has risers, all of the stuff that I like to use in my songs. And here we're actually using, let's make this a little bigger. You can see it here very small, just a crash when we jump into this full scene. In the break, we're also using a crash, but here also in the end you can see we're also using the riser that I just showed you just to do the transition, then to move on to this full scene. And you can also see here that this one is already now flashing, and this is because I set this scene here, the break scene, which is also the build up into the next part. I set this to a follow action to play for 32 bars, and then it automatically moves over into this full pattern, which basically is then the drop. And the reason I do this is because while I'm playing, I change a lot of parameters on the sounds, and sometimes I forget then to hit the next scene. And just to make sure that I'm really dropping into the next scene when I should, I'm automating it here to just trigger the next scene, because yeah, it's just something where I know, okay, I just don't need to take care of or don't need to think about in this particular moment. All right, let's go back to the percussion kit and actually see what's going on here. You can see again from the sample pack that I mentioned here in the hi-hat track, again, we have some percussions, which are here on this track. They're just hitting from time to time. Now again, just to create a little bit of impact and to add kind of like, yeah, some texture, some background noises to fill a little bit the room, and yeah, to have some more interesting stuff going on in the background. Yeah, it's actually quite simple, just these three sounds here. Actually in the first one, I'm using them as well, but here they are always changing a little bit because I set the chance to, yeah, for all of them around 60%, so they are not triggering every time, and basically it's just a 2-bar loop, but every end of 2 bars to create again, which is the idea of the song, impact at the end of the 2 bars. It's just supporting that, but playing a little bit differently, because as we keep that rolling, now it hit 3 times, now it hit all 4 times, again all 4 times, again 3 times, and so on. So this way it always creates some variations of the patterns, just to keep everything interesting. Sound effects we just talked about, basically crashes, risers, and you can also see here that in the first intro I'm also using a riser to make the transition to the basically second part of the intro, and the rest of the risers I do with my performance effects. And then I think this is quite interesting. This is a sound I created completely from scratch, which is a hi-hat loop that was created using noise of the Moog. This is actually a sampled sound or a sampled loop coming from the Moog, and it's using just an oscillator with noise. It sounds now like this. And it's also actually quite simple setup, so there's just not too much going on. For this sound, I basically just shaped it a little bit. I did some processing to it. I know there's a vocoder on it, and also an equalizer, an EQA, to cut off a little bit of the low end. And the way I set this up, actually, I set up the effects directly on the Moog, and then you can see here this one is called resampled. And then I resampled the already processed sound, and then just did some slight other processing here as well. There's a delay added, and then here you can see I also sent some reverb to it. So this is the sound without the delay, and now with delay. It's a ping pong delay, so you can already hear it a little bit in the stereo field. And again, you can hear at the end of every second bar, the impact is slightly rising, which again supports the idea of the song that every second bar there is something going on. In general, I think if you have a concept for your songs and then make some of the sounds follow that concept, that can make your songs sound a little bit more coherent, because then I think the listener experiences a motive in your songs and realizes, okay, there's not just random stuff going on, there's actually a thought process behind that. Yep, and everything now, just quickly let me switch on. All the percussion tracks now sound like this. pay attention to what happens every second bar. So every end of the second bar, the impact is rising a little bit, and this is due to all the automations we applied to the sounds. All right, let me quickly check back if there are any questions. Claudio is asking, which reverb do you use and how? Actually, different versions of reverbs. Let me quickly show you. So here on the hi-hat tracks, I like to use the Ableton stock reverb. Where do we have it? I think here, for example. No, sorry, I think on this one. Yeah, for example, here I'm using the Ableton stock reverb with the drums room setup. However, for the send reverbs, I have kind of like a send group that I created here. These are these three return tracks, and they have a reverb, a delay, and a chorus. And this is basically sounds that I try to emulate from the Digitone. Some sound effects on the Digitone that I really like to use, which I kind of recreated here in Ableton and optimized a little bit. And I'm sending these sound effects to different sounds. You can already see it here. They are applied to the different tracks. And yeah, like I said, stock delay, stock chorus, but then the Valhalla vintage verb. It's a super nice reverb. These are actually my settings here. Super nice reverb. I really like this one. However, as I'm now switching more and more to the push standalone, I want to try to use as many Ableton stock reverbs as possible. I'm not super happy with the Ableton stock reverb, I have to say. Sometimes I think the room just doesn't sound as nice as it does here on the Valhalla vintage verb. However, I started to explore the Ableton, I don't know what it's called again, I think hybrid reverb. Was it hybrid reverb? Yeah, here, hybrid reverb, which is a super nice device, and yeah, it just sounds lovely, and it's super versatile, much more versatile actually than the stock reverb. So yeah, when I want to go a little bit more deeper on the sound design, or have the feeling I'm not getting there on the room I want to create with the standard reverb, I always reach for this one, because yeah, it just sounds pretty nice. All right, let's move on. I think we checked out the all the percussion groups. Let's dive into the melodic groups. First is the ARP. Like, I will exclude this one now because, like I said, sorry, this is the bass. I said it in the beginning of the stream. It's here in this group due to routing reasons. However, kind of like from a thought process perspective, it should be in the kick and bass group. But yeah, due to routing reasons, it is what it is. But actually, here is a second audio track going, and this is actually quite interesting, because this is, I think, one of the sounds that really drives this song. It's the ARP, and it sounds like this. I really like the sound, and I really like how it came out, and it's actually, you can already read it here, it's a recording from the MOOG Mother 32. And what I did here is actually, you can still see it here, this is kind of like the MIDI track, and what I did to set it up is, yeah, again, an external instrument, just to send MIDI from Ableton to the MOOG Mother 33. And then you can see here an external FX device, which is the microcosm. This is actually a send return solution. So basically, I'm sending the sound to the hologram microcosm, and then yeah, getting the audio back from it, so that I can kind of like use it as an Ableton device, which is very handy and actually super nice to do. And I think in the intro you can hear it quite nicely. Or here. this kind of like glitchy sound is actually coming from the microcosm, because what I did is I recorded the sound fully wet or with the microcosm applied to it, and just recorded it with all the glitches the microcosm was producing. I don't remember which algorithm of the microcosm it was, but yeah, it was one of the glitch algorithms which sounded really nice on the sound, and just added it an additional texture. And to create the sound, I used a device that let me see if I can find it. It's a really nice, I think it's a MIDI effect. It's called, I think I need to open this one here. Yeah, I think it was this one here, Melodic Steps. It looks like it, and what it does is actually it's a kind of like, you could say, a step, or it creates sequences for you. If I let it run now, sorry, I'm just muting everything now. Let's see, how can we do that? Maybe, yeah, maybe like that. Okay, so what we actually see here is kind of like, yeah, I set a step sequencer that you can create different steps here. You can determine in which key you're in. I just set it to the key that the song is in. By the way, the song is in C minor, so I set it to minor, and then root note C. And then I just created here just some different values. I brought up the numbers here, and then what it does, it actually transposes the song with the values added here. Oops, sorry. To kind of like the different steps that you set them to. Then it determines the different length, the velocity, and also the chance that the steps are triggering, which is super interesting. And you can basically randomize all of that and then decide how many steps the sequence should have, and then just let it run and see what happens. And this will then create very random melodic sequences for you, which is actually pretty cool. And what I did is I recorded 8 bars of it, and then just took a listen, and then decided on some sequences that I liked, and yeah, added variations to these sequences. And basically the outcome now is yeah, this sound here. Yeah, and this is how I recorded it. And then, of course, in the end, also you can see it here, I applied reverb and delay to it. And then also another EQ8 to just shave off the low end a little bit. Again, a glue compressor just to catch a little bit of the peaks here. Because you can here's the sound quite silent, but then the more I moved on in the song, I opened the filter more on the Mother 32 and also made the decay time a little longer. And you can already hear there's also slight modulation going on. And for this, I used the Mother 32 patch bay to yeah, just patch the LFO to the filter and to some other settings, also to the noise, I think. Yeah, to just make the sound constantly evolving, constantly moving, and yeah, just create this really nice texture. You can also hear in this one, actually, the attack is set way lower, and then here I set the attack that you really get this plucky sound here. Yeah, it's really nice to play around with that and just in different scenes apply different settings to the synthesizer, and then yeah, create different sounds from that. Yeah, that's the Moog, one of the driving elements. Quickly switching back to the chat and see if anyone else asking some questions. Doesn't seem to be like it. By the way, hi to all the new people joining, and yeah, like I said in the beginning, any questions, feel free to just drop me a note in the chat. I'm quickly jumping back and forth between the different screens, and yeah, I can then see your question and immediately ask it. Doesn't have to be to the song, but can also be something very, yeah, just general. It's a safe space, so feel free to ask. There are no stupid questions, and yeah, just ask your questions. All right, as there are no new questions, let's move to the Digitone group. This one is a little special because I don't know why, but for some reason, when you can see the Digitone is playing, but now when I solo it, it doesn't play, and I don't really understand why. I hope now if I mute all of these groups, yeah, now it works. Really weird stuff. Whatever, we don't question it. All right, so the what's going on there on the Digitone? You can actually see that here in Fragile, once the song starts, we are using the pattern clips. So basically this just says, this is a device, I also made a video about it, and it's basically a device that switches your patterns as you move along. I like to use one pattern per song that I then can change on the fly, and this one here actually just then says, when you have a clip here that says A7 and then you can give it a title, it just switches to the pattern A7 on the Digitone, which is super handy. So when I'm playing a live set, and let's say in this song here I'm in pattern A6, once this clip gets triggered in the intro, then the device switches automatically to pattern A7, so I don't have to take care of pattern switching when playing live, which is very handy. This is all this track does, and then actually I'm mirroring the 4 tracks on the MIDI tracks on the Digitone. Actually, what I do is I have a group called Digitone MIDI, a group called Digitone Audio, and this MIDI group is where I have the MIDI data stored. You can see it here. We just triggered this scene. You can see the notes here. Oh, it's very small, I'm sorry. Just trying to make it a little bit bigger and move along. Yeah, you get the idea. And then basically the audio comes back via overbridge, and then I have here different audio tracks, and these are then also the tracks that are getting the processing. So you can see here, I actually don't apply that much processing on the tracks itself. I just give it reverb, delay, and some chorus, and the rest I try to do directly on the device itself. And it's basically 2 different sounds. This is the first sound. I'm just playing it right now. Let me quickly bring that in so you can see it. I'm playing it now on the Digitone. It's also from my Digitone sound pack. So if you're interested in that, it's on Gumroad and also on my Patreon. You can find it there. It's actually an LFO, but for this song I just used it in a different way, not as an LFO, but as this additional plug sound. And then I have the second sound, which basically completely different sound, and I think it's just a layer of the first one. It plays, I think it plays the same notes. You can hear it right now in the background. Let's see if we can solo it. No, it doesn't work. It's super weird. I don't really understand it, to be honest. I'm just happy that this setting works actually. So routing overbridge in Ableton, especially when you want to have all your 4 tracks displayed like that, is quite complicated to set up. So I'm just happy that it works as it is. So just an additional layer, and then actually apart from that, we just have this sound here playing completely alone, and then once the main part of the song drops, it gets some support. You can also, I don't know if you can see it actually here on the Digitone, you can see that this one is panned slightly, probably it's too small on your screen, but this one is panned slightly, to the left, 15, and this one here is panned 15 to the right, so that we have a little bit more going on in the stereo field. But yeah, actually here, yeah, just an additional layer that I have the feeling goes quite well along with the Moog. Just a very nice melodic progression, and it basically changes slightly then also in the outro. There the sounds are setting in a little bit later. You can see it here in the MIDI, and now the sounds are coming in. Yeah, just adding and playing nicely along with the ARP from the Moog. Okay, sorry, just quickly jumping back again to see if anyone has any questions. James is just writing, Digitone is always special. Yeah, it really is, and it's also a synth that I don't want to miss anymore. It's the hardware synth I have for the longest time, and yeah, I really like this one, and yeah, just don't want to miss it anymore because it just sounds lovely. It has some very nice characteristic sound to it, and also sound designing on it is actually super fun. So this is something I definitely also want to do in the future, but due to the complicated setup in Ableton, it's also a synth where I thought, okay, maybe in the future this would be probably just looking at my three devices I have for playing live, the Ableton Push 3, the Digitone and the Moog. This is probably the device I would get rid of first. Not because I don't like it, but I think for setting it up for the live setup, it's just a little bit too complicated, and yeah, the outcome I get out of it, it's just easier with the Moog, and the Moog actually would also be easier to just play with the Push 3 standalone, which is something I definitely want to explore in the future. Something I actually haven't done yet, by the way, just to try to use the Moog, sorry, not the Moog standalone, the Push standalone, together with an external synthesizer without Ableton running on a computer. But yes, I agree, for sound design, I will always use the Digitone. I will always keep it. It will always be in my tracks because it, yeah, just adds some nice flair to the tracks. All right, let's move on and move to this synth track here. This is where all my software synths are living, and for this song, actually, we are using two different pads, or first keys. The first keys, actually, you can hear it here. Sorry. It sounds like this. Playing just the chords of the song, and I think it just sounds amazing. It's a device called ELEKTRON. It's from a very small company called Feld. They make some amazing plugins, some really nice instruments, and yeah, this one here is actually one of my favorites, I have to say. Yeah, just really nice, and yeah, I just like how it sounds. You can dive in here, very different sounds. It also has a built-in echo and reverb, which I don't like to use that much, but yeah, all the other parameters are really great, and yeah, it just has this organic feel to it, like yeah, like a felt piano, so to say. And I created an instrument rack out of it. So basically, I found here at around 280 hertz, there was a very resonant frequency. Maybe if I can switch off the EQ, you can hear it. It actually gets quite harsh when you have that on loudspeakers, and I did a sound check at a venue where I played a concert this year, and then I thought, oh, why does this sound, or why does the set not sound so good? And actually it was this piano where at this frequency there was just a very high peak, and then the engineer who did the sound said, hey, I just brought down the frequency at 280 hertz a little bit, and it improves the sound significantly, so maybe you can check that. And this is why I have this EQ set here and take out actually quite a lot of gain, around 6 dB. But yeah. With that, it sounds actually really nice. I'm also adding a slight, how do you say that? Sidechain again. Thanks, I was missing the word. Again with the CV shaper. And by the way, this is something I forgot to mention about the Digitone group. Actually, you can see here on the audio group, there is a saturation. This is mainly what I'm using to compensate for the gain that is lost when you connect the Digitone via USB to your computer, because I found it sounded a little bit digital and quite, the audio was a little bit lower. So I just added a saturator to give it a little bit more of a warmer sound. And then of course, again, we have here the same device, the CV shaper, just to add, sidechain and make everything groove through the kick and make it easier for the kick to cut through the mix. Yeah, but for Leko, apart from that, there's not so much added. And yeah, what I wanted to mention before, I created this instrument rack where I mapped all the parameters to this instrument. So for example, if we now switch here to the push, you can see here that I can now control the parameters that we've seen before in the device directly on the push, which makes sound design and sound shaping of it way easier. So for example, bring up the echo and reverb, or again bring up tape noise. Yeah, very easy to do that. Lovely sound. I really like the chord that it plays. And of course, as I don't use the echo and the reverb here, you can see again, I'm sending my reverb and delay to this track. All right, and then we have one last pad, which actually is a pad again from the sample pack that I mentioned before, that I used to create many elements from this song. And this is a sound that sounds like this. You can also see not too much processing going on. Let's switch off the different devices and see how it sounds. Yeah, this is the sound, and you can see here that I'm playing a melody that basically supports the piano melody. And just to give it a little bit more room, I'm shaving off the lower frequencies a little bit, because I found it was clashing a little bit with the MOOGs and the ARPs. So I just wanted to play it basically in the higher frequencies. And then of course we have a very long reverb, actually 13.5 seconds. But it really gives it that nice pad-like sound. And then of course again, sidechain, quite heavy this time with the mix set to 40, which already you can really hear it pumping. And then also here on send track G, we have the delay, and yeah, you can hear that it's, and see also here that it's running through the delay quite heavily. And this again now with the piano sounds like this. And if we also bring in the MOOGs, it sounds like this. very nicely in the back. The piano is whenever a new bar sets in, the piano is slightly playing. So yeah, it just adds some very nice texture in the background. All right, let's see again what's going on in the chat. Maxime has a question. I use the Digitone for my live set as well. I tend to struggle a bit with the arpeggiator and was wondering what your approach is for programming something that isn't too random. Actually, I don't use the arpeggiator with my settings, the Digitone arpeggiator with my settings not that much anymore, which actually is very sad, because this is actually something I'm really missing. And the reason why I'm not using it is that the MIDI triggering from Ableton was not reliable enough. So whenever I had the MIDI triggering, the up was sometimes off, or was playing always something different, and this is something I didn't really like about the Digitone. So this is why I don't use the Digitone with the ARP anymore. However, I have to say, when playing standalone with the Digitone, I really like its ARP. It's one of my favorite ARPs. So yeah, I think what you mean is programming something that isn't too random. I can totally understand that. I think when you trigger it with external MIDI, it can sound really random. However, I internally really like the randomness of the sound, and it was, yeah, a big part of my sound creation process. Really a shame that I can't use it now anymore, but I sometimes actually use it when I record the Digitone to Ableton. I just play the sounds on the Digitone and then record the audio to Ableton and then use it there or process it further. So yeah, it's still used, but I think I understand what you mean, Maxime. I think it's, yeah, it's just sometimes a little bit random, but actually this is something I also like about it. All right, let's move on to the last group, which is here. Let's bring it in. You can hear there's actually a lot going on. Let's see what's going on here. So we have this track here, which basically is some resampling from the microcosm. This is the microcosm turned to fully wet. I don't remember which preset is on there. Probably something from, what is the first algorithm called? Mosaic. I think it's something from Mosaic, one of these presets. And basically, yeah, I really like this technique to create some pads, because then I have already a melody going on with an ARP, and then I feel, okay, there's just something missing in the background. So this is when I'm reaching for this technique, where I apply the microcosm to my ARP, set it to this Mosaic preset. Forgot again, sorry. And then I yeah, basically just let it run and create a lovely texture. The settings are then all the way wet, and it sounds like this. Yeah, just really, really nice. And yeah, just I use it here for the background. You can also see there's a good amount of reverb applied, also delay. And then for the processing, basically just shaving off the low end a little bit to not clash with the bass. And then again, the envelope shaper to give it this yeah, pumping feel. All right, let's move on here in this group. This is actually all the sampled sounds that are now in here. Here we have another ARP. This is a wild one, a really wild one. And actually, I'm just realizing this one here is sitting in the wrong group, because this one should actually be in another group. It should be here in the synth group because it's actually a synthesizer. However, I think the reason why I put this here is that I have this second ARP, which basically is a is a recording again from the MOOG Mother 32. And as these two are kind of like layered on top of each other, I decided to put it in that group. But as it's a software synthesizer, from a logical point of view, it should be here in the synthesizer group. But you can see from time to time I'm changing some things, and I think we pretty quickly see why. So this is how the sound sounds. It basically plays also the chord progression again, but just with 2 notes in the ARP. It's actually the root note, and then we have the I don't know, what is it? Oh no, I think it's is it the 5th? I'm a little bit confused because actually I think this is not the root note, but this is a C minor chord without the C here. Like the C is missing, and then I transposed I forgot the English word. Sorry, like the tone basically that gives it its minor or major feeling. Sorry, I'm missing the English term right now. I transposed this 1 octave out. But basically, and this is then applied to all the sounds. And it's again an ARP. There are a lot of ARPs in this track, which is here just the standard ARP. You can see not too much stuff going on. It's pretty standard. I think the interesting stuff is then happening here on this ARP, which is called Glitchy ARP. It's actually one of the sounds that I created myself. It's here in, oops, I need to open this again. Here we go. It's this one here. It's a sound created with Drift, and this sound actually, if you're interested, you could also get on my Patreon. We have, or I will give all my Patreons access to all the sounds that I created. But for this one, I did something special. You can already see it here. I applied different LFOs to the amp attack, the filter attack here, and then also the filter cutoff, just to have it modulate over time. And here the rates are also completely free rates, so it's not synced to any beat, just to give it, again, a little bit more movement. So if we switch this off, now of course we need also to switch this one off. Yeah. It just gives a little bit more randomness and liveliness to the sounds. And then this ARP I actually only want to play in the higher frequencies again, so here's a very sharp cut at around 500 Hertz. So this is basically the range where all the MOOGs are playing, so this is not affected by right now. Then of course we have again also the CV shaper to make it pump along with the other sounds. And this actually is a layer of this sound here. Which you can already see is a very long recording, again from the MOOG Mother 32, which kind of similar settings as I have here on this ARP I showed you, which kind of like is the main ARP, but this one here is way shorter. Also, if we look here into the audio, you can see it's very short notes, and you can also hear it here. And what I did here again, like the idea of the whole track, is that it has a filter on it. Let's take a quick look. Here you can already see the auto filter, which opens up towards the end of every 2 bars. Like I said, every 2 bars I want to increase the impact on that song, and therefore this one here is moving and yeah, just opening up towards the end of every 2nd bar. And the further we move, like for example here, you can really see it opens up quite a lot. Just a really nice sound effect, and yeah, just brings this track to life a little bit more. Here we can hear it again and see it again, how it slowly opens up. Yeah, just really, really nice effect again. Then we have some processing again going on. First there's an EQ, just again shaving off some of the low end, because this ARP I want to play here. Usually you can already see here it's playing more here at around 1 kilohertz, but as it opens up I'm fine with it going down until 100 hertz, because this is usually in sections where the kick drum is not playing, so I don't need to be afraid of it clashing also with the bass sound. Then here we have a compressor, so whenever the sound gets towards the end of the 2 bars a little louder, you can see here there's a slight gain reduction happening, just to keep everything nice and tight and not have too much dynamics going on, keeping them a little bit under control. And then again we have a an envelope shaper to create that pumping effect for the sound. And yeah, all together now the sample group sounds like this. And we can also hear it together with the MOOGs. And with the other synthesizers, the software. Basically, I have to undo the solo mode, because otherwise the Digitone is not playing. Really weird bug, I don't know why, but yeah, all melodic sounds sound like this. The MOOG is playing kind of like at the beginning of every bar, and then there's kind of like the other ARPs coming in. So they're playing in the background, but always when this main MOOG here, the ARP moves a little bit to the background, then the other ARP is coming in. So it has kind of like a little call and response pattern to it. Yeah. And that's all the sounds here on Fragile. Let's quickly give you the whole pattern again. Yeah. Before we jump into the structure of the song, I just quickly wanted to see if there are any further questions. Maxime is writing indeed, thanks, and then Luna Scars writing hello, hi, welcome, great that you're here. Also to you, if you have any questions, Luna, just feel free to ask. And yeah, we are now taking a look at the structure of the song. Like I already said, I need to find it where we are. Here we are. Okay, cool. Yeah, the song has in total 7 scenes. These 7 scenes here, and it's basically a song that sometimes in some of my songs I like to jump around in the scenes, but this one is actually very straightforward. It plays from scene 1 all the way down to the outro, scene 7, and then that's it basically. Sometimes when I play live, I jam around a little bit on the main pattern, but yeah, usually this is the way how I move. In the intro, you can hear the sample sounds that we just looked at. And now the Moog arps are coming in before kind of like the whole instrument group is setting in. You can see it here in the beginning, the first 6 bars, the Moog bass sound is not playing, and also here the Moog audio is not playing. It's displayed here, but what I did is actually a trick I like to use a lot. I play a lot around with these gain automations in audio clips. So basically here the gain is set all the way to 0, and even though we see here there's audio content in, it's not playing. It's just, whoops, sorry. It's just the very last part here playing. Need to wait until it triggers, and now it comes. Here we go. And now we automatically move on to here, scene number 2. And this is also here due to an automation. I set here again a follow action, which basically means after 8 bars, Ableton is automatically triggering the next scene. And this is because usually when I'm playing live in this intro, I'm coming from another song. I have some elements playing from another song. So there's a lot to take care of. And I know in 8 or after 8 bars, it's automatically switching to the next pattern. So then I'll be completely in the song Fragile. Sometimes I'm re-triggering this intro scene to have a little bit more time to fade out the elements from the song I have played before. But yeah, usually I just play it 8 bars. And then we are in here in the second intro, which is then, yeah, like I said, where for the first time all elements are playing together. Also here the Digitone is coming in now, and you can see actually if we look at the keys here, we don't have a chord progression yet. I'm just staying on, yeah, I think it's, yeah, this is a C minor chord, which I think just, yeah, this extra note here, which is the octave of this one. I still don't remember what it's called. If some of you know, maybe just quickly write to me in the chat. I'm looking for the note that defines if a song is major or minor, like we have in this example here. All right. Yeah, but I just quickly lost my concept here. But yeah, you can actually see here it's just staying on this one chord and just playing it all the time, and there's no chord progression going on, because the idea is that I introduce the full chord progression a little bit later in the song. And actually I already have a chord progression then here when we move on to the transition. We start again here on C minor, and then we move here to this one, which I think is, yeah, an F major it should be. And then, yeah, the chord progression goes on. But I found it quite nice to create some tension to stay here, just on this one chord. And then with the transition, we have here the switch to a new chord. And this actually adds a lot of extra tension before we move over. You can also see in this transition pattern, it's also automated, so it just plays 8 bars and then automatically moves to the next scene. I do that a lot with my transitions because when I'm transitioning, I have a lot of other stuff to do. I tweak my performance effects, I tweak filters, and also I apply build claps and swooshes. So yeah, that there's a smooth transition going on. And then I also would need to think to trigger the next scene. Probably I would sometimes miss it. And then if the transition scene starts to play from the beginning again, it's not very nice. So yeah, this is why usually my transition scenes I automate, while on my main scenes I like to just decide by myself when I want to switch or move on in the song, also depending on if the people are moving on the floor or yeah, what's basically going on. If I find the pattern boring, or if I still find, okay, there's some other stuff I can play on top of it, just to keep everything interesting and also danceable. All in all, the transition, what I would do, I would bring up now the filter, and here, shimmer, and now move on. And now we are here in the first main, yeah, in the first main pattern, so to say. The main pattern, yeah, has already most of the elements in it. We have the chord progression already going on. The Digitone is not playing the full melody pattern yet. This is only coming in the full pattern, which sounds like this. You can hear the melody is different than this one. So kind of like I'm not unleashing the full power yet. It's yeah, basically just moving along. And from this main pattern, I actually now want to drop into the break. And how I do that actually is that here on the push, I now create some extra drive. Take out the kick. And now drop. And now what I would do in this part when playing live, I would go here to my Moog and play actually a live melody on top of this. To build up the break. So the break basically has two different sections to it. The first section is where I can freely improvise, like you heard, I hit the wrong note, but yeah, I can freely improvise with the Moog and play on top of my melody what's going on. And then you can see it here after actually 16 bars, the Moog is sequenced again. And then yeah, starting to build up again towards the full. And this is also again automated. You can see here this the section here was 32 bars long, and also here in the follow scene I set it to 32, so that after 32 bars the next scene, which is then the full one, is triggered. And yeah, this is of course now supported with different elements. You can see here my hi-hats are actually, here I'm using a utility plugin, which is here at the end of the track, and it just gets activated in this track. And maybe you've seen it before and ask yourself why I use it. I actually use it on MIDI tracks to automate volume. So if now we start the hi-hats, oops, sorry, here in the break, you don't hear anything, because you can see here the utility gain here is set to minus infinite, so it's just not playing. There's just nothing happening. But then over time, let's take a look again here. When we hit the 17 bars, so to say, it starts to be faded in. Let's quickly... I hate this Ableton bug, like when you click now in here the clip, it triggers the next one because of this follow scenes. So actually let me quickly switch off the follow action for now, and then we can work a little bit easier in here. Just some of these quirks that Ableton has from time to time. Should come in. Yeah, you can already see the volume here. And you can see here how it slowly starts to come in. Slowly building up. And this one here, of course, as well. Same pattern like on the from the 17th bar, it just is increased. And the same one I think we have here, probably with the hi-hat as well. Yep, you can see it here. Same automation curve, just to bring in all the elements. And then combined with the risers here in the percussive sections I said before, which then comes in at at bar 31 to prepare the transition, it really adds something to the build up, and I can basically focus on the different performance effects. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the screen. Shit, sorry, my bad. I was just talking all the time and seeing that the camera was pointed still to the table. So basically, just to show you again, these are the automation curves that I have going on here in the section. And yeah, let me quickly show you again how it sounds all together and actually hear what the push is doing. So we are in the break. I bring in the shimmer, maybe also some reverb, which is nice on the Moog. Now I play the Moog live. And now we are at the second part of the break. Where I now start to slowly open the filter on the Moog. Go in here and open the filter on the Digitone. Bring in the claps and the swoosh and go over. This is basically how I make this transition and also perform it when I'm playing live. And yeah, then after that, actually there is the full scene that we just listened to. And then we have the outro, which basically from the full scene is also a drop in energy again. Like for example, let me quickly play you the full closing the filter on the Moog, also bringing down the shimmer on the melodic and on the drum sounds. that's my song Fragile. As easy as that, I would say. Yeah, any questions? Let me quickly check the chat. Love the sound of that silky kick drum. Yeah, I really like it too. It sounds great. Actually, I have to give a shout out to Production Music Live because they have some really amazing sounds in their sample and sound packs. So can highly recommend. I use a lot of their sounds. It's actually really good. Third, yeah, that's the so yeah, you have the root note, then you have the third, and then you have the fifth. I think it's confusing because in German they have some different names, but yeah, I try to go with the English names. But yeah, that's actually it. That's how I created my song Fragile. Any questions from you? On the process, on anything, yeah, according to the song or to also the live effects, yeah, just drop me a note in the chat now. I really like how this song comes together, and one reason actually, what I explained in the beginning, why I use this different Moog sound, because this is basically the bass sound. And just if I play on the Mother 32, sorry, not 32, not Mother 32, sorry, the sub 25, a little bit confused with all the Moogs, 1 octave higher, it actually sounds super nice when I apply then here on my performance effects reverb and the shimmer. Super nice effect, really nice sound, and yeah, something I like to do a lot. Actually, one of the main reasons I got myself the sub 25 was that I wanted a synth with a keyboard that I can actually play on when performing live, because this is something I really like to do. Yeah, just add a ton of shimmer, add a ton of reverb, and then in breaks just play on top of the sound that is arpeggiated, or not arpeggiated, but created by Ableton, play some live elements, because I really feel it gives a different vibe to a concert, and yeah, just always is something special. A lot of my favorite artists also do that, and I'm training myself to do that more and more, because it's just a nice element. It's also great for intros. I use it actually a lot when playing live, which is why I probably could not get rid of the sub 25 for live sets, or just in emergencies when there's travel involved, for example, and I can't take it, because although it's smaller than the sub 37, it's still a little bulky, and yeah, it's just an amazing instrument, and I really like to play it live and to do sound designing, and yeah, also yeah, playing on it live. Parito is writing, great job. I would love to see sound design on sub 25 of this track. Yeah, let's take a quick look. We can do that, no problem. I will bring up so this is a sub 25 track, has some effects to it, like I already explained a little bit earlier in the video or in the stream, reverb and delay, and then here's some different effects, slight shaving here on the with an equalizer, then a compressor, and then of course here again the CV shaper to create a sidechain effect. But yeah, the main sound design here is actually not that tricky. This is the setting of the sound. It's my preset, which I created for myself. It's called Miles Bass Lead, and Yeah, actually, I'm using the two oscillators. One of them is set to 7th note, so the second oscillator here is basically turned all the way up, as you can see here. Like when I play this sound. So this would be if they had kind of like the same sound. And it's just playing up 7 semitones to create this really nice sound. You can also hear there's glide enabled with legato, and then quite a high glide rate here set to around 5 to let the sounds nicely glide into one another. The synthesis form that I'm using actually is on both sounds a saw wave. You can see here the waveform is sawtooth. I really like to use that waveform. It's my most frequent used waveform when doing sound design. And then in the mixer, I'm not using the sub oscillator at all. It's turned all the way down because I found this sound already has a lot of low end, especially when playing it down here. I also, you can see it here, need to compensate here a little bit with the low shelf on the equalizer. Yeah, this is why I left the sub oscillator off. Also in this one, the noise oscillator is turned all the way down, and I'm just using oscillator 2, which is set to basically volume of 4. I don't know how Moog actually measures that, so I just call it 4. And then, yeah, this one here has the same settings. And I think, yeah, of course, regarding the envelopes, filter envelopes and amp envelopes are pretty similar for the attack and the decay, but then, of course, the sound has a longer sustain for the amp. And for the filter envelope, it has no sustain at all, because I just want the filter to quickly open when I hit the first note, which you can hear with this down, and then it just moves back a little bit. The decay time also here set very long actually, so that the filter slowly closes again. You could also, with the EG amount, with this one the effect gets quite obvious, but yeah, let's just quickly set it back. I think you kind of like get the idea. Yeah, then we have, I think, the most, oh yeah, no resonance on the filter. That's important for this sound, because resonance, if I bring it in, it gives it this nosy sound, and also you can really hear, and you can also see it here actually, especially with the lower notes. Take a look here what happens to the low end. Okay, that's quite a lot of resonance. But yeah, it really goes away a little bit, especially here for the higher sounds. There's some yeah, of the sound going away, and yeah, I just don't like the nosiness. But what I really like on the sound, and this is I think also what makes especially the sub 25 and 37 special, is the filter multi-drive, because the how it works basically is you have a normal filter drive. So without drive it sounds like this, very silent and not that aggressive, and you can increase the drive, and once you get past the 5, basically past the value 5, so to say, and go higher, you can hear, especially here, that the filter very nicely overdrives, and this is yeah, what gives, I think, the sound the characteristics. So yeah, I would say not a too complicated sound. Basically 2 saw waves, 1 saw wave tuned up 7 semitones, and then yeah, sustain all the way up, decay all the way up, just a slight filter attack and decay on the envelope generator for the filter, and then just a lot of multi-drive, adjust the cutoff while playing along with the sound. Yeah, super nice sound. Like I said, I use it in a lot of my tracks in different versions. Sometimes I just turn down the cutoff, and this is actually also makes a pretty nice bass actually. If you don't want anything that is too prominent in the higher frequencies, you can just bring the filter down and then just use the sound as a pure bass sound to go along with your kick. Yeah. Any further questions? Really cool track, Miles. Just to clarify what I meant: major third, major chord, minor third, minor chord. Yeah, exactly. These are the terms I was looking for. Thank you so much. This is the term that I was really missing here, but yeah, I remember that. Thank you so much, Jarko. Major third, minor third. Learned something again today. That's great. Thank you for everything. Thanks for tuning in, Claudio. That's great. Can also see my wife in the chat. Actually, we have an appointment. We kind of like have an event where we are going to, so I think I need to end that stream rather soon. But 2 more questions. Maxime is asking, do you intentionally use static EQs instead of dynamic EQs on synth ins? Dynamic helps me control the 150 Hertz boominess, but only if the input exceeds the threshold defined. Actually, a very, very good point. And I like to use dynamic EQs. My favorite, actually, or 2 favorites that I like for that is the one from Isotope, which is also included in Ozone, and the one from FabFilter. However, this is kind of like the live setting scenario. So whenever I mix, I really like to use that. But for live settings, I try to stick to the Ableton stock presets as much as possible, or the stock devices, sorry, because due to the lower CPU usage, and also with a future eye on the maybe Push 3 standalone, I think it's great to be limited to the stock devices. However, and this is something I really hope that Ableton might bring. I was hope actually this would come with Live 12, and I was quite surprised that they still don't have it. Is a like you say, a dynamic EQ, because I think this is really something that Ableton is missing right now, and I think it would be very easy actually to turn the EQ8 into a dynamic EQ, or make a dynamic EQ out of the EQ8. So this is something I'm actually missing right now a little bit about Ableton, and was hoping actually to see that in Live 12, but it doesn't seem to be coming. I know there are some workarounds to do that, but I always find it a little bit easier if you just have everything in one place and don't need to add a high number of devices and then also an LFO trigger to that, and it would just be easier to have everything in one device. Unfortunately, Ableton doesn't have that yet. Perito's writing, thanks, you are the GOAT. Thank you so much, Perito. Really appreciate you tuning in, and in general, all of you guys. I think that's it for this stream. We're already running since nearly 2 hours. Wow, that was a long one. But I hope it really got you some good insights in how the track was done and how everything was structured, and not only structured, but also from a sound design perspective, maybe gave you some good ideas for your own tracks. Like I said, this is my last piece of content for 2023, and as we only have 3 days to go in the year, I really wanted to thank you all for being part of my journey, being part of this journey this year. It has been a pleasure to do that with you, and just to be here making and creating music. I can already tell you 2024 will be pretty exciting. I have some really nice projects coming up that I'm very much looking forward to. But at first, I'm going on a vacation in January. So 3 weeks in January, I will be completely away from screens. I need to take a break to just recalibrate and to just move away a little bit from not only music making but also content creation in general, and just reshape myself, recharge the batteries, so to say. And this is what's going on in in January of 2024. But once I'm back from vacation, I can promise you there is some good stuff coming. And like I said to all the people who were expecting a sound design video on the Push 3 standalone, this is actually coming in an extra video. So I try to shoot that this week, then I'll be in January on vacation, and then probably when I'm back end of January, beginning of February, I will have the video ready for you. Before I leave in January, I have another track going live, which is Dune. It's a piece I wrote entirely on the Sub 25, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to releasing that 4th of January. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I think there's a last comment from Yuri. Hi Yuri, thanks for joining. Actually, we're just ending the screen, but yeah, if you want to rewatch the recording, actually the whole stream will be after this live session here on the channel and will stay there so that you can rewatch it. Do you think artists from Europe sound smarter just because of their accent? Good question. I always feel, especially the German accent, sounds super stupid, and I try to get rid of it as much as possible. I hope so, at least. I mean, people can probably tell I'm German, but yeah, still I talk a lot of English also in my day job, and yeah, my boss is British, so I try to adapt his accent as good as possible. But I think it really depends where you are from. Artists from Europe sound smarter just because of their accent. I don't know. Good question. I think Germans don't, but that's probably what all people will say about their people when when they hear them speak in English. Many thanks, Miles. Enjoy your vacation and have a happy new year. Thanks, Jarko. Happy new year to you too, and to everyone tuning in. Really appreciate all of you guys, like I said. And yeah, see you again in 2024 for one last song before I go on vacation. And yeah, wishing you a great time, happy new year party, and see you all very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.